My name is Swill. I am the leader and chairperson of the Unity Movement. Unity Movement is a new movement that has entered the political arena in Sierra Leone, and I will be running as its presidential candidate in the 2018 general elections. I believe that Sierra Leone is one of the wealthiest nations in Africa. It is blessed with mineral resource, marine resource, and natural beauty. But let's be honest. Sierra Leone is derelict. Corruption and bribery, poor governance has led Sierra Leone to be labeled as one of the poorest countries in Africa.
Unfortunately, Femi only secured 0.2% of the total votes cast in the general elections in Sierra Leone 2018. Women are often associated with discipline, good morals, integrity, and disassociated from corruption, sexual harassment, and other unprofessional and unethical practices. These are qualities one would unarguably say should be present in a president. But there is still a visible shortage of women head of states in Africa.
The time for talk is over.
Liberia's former president Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is the first and so far only female president Africa has had. In Sierra Leone, the two major political parties, All People's Congress and Sierra Leone People's Party, have never given a woman the ticket to run for presidency under their party. When women contest the elections as presidential candidates under other small parties, they don't make it. This triggers the question, why has Sierra Leone never had a female president? Hello there. Yes, it's the Phebe Swill platform, and today what we're looking at, it's basically women's involvement in politics from a very different angle. We know women form almost the bulk of the population, although by the World Population Report now it says that it's about 49.6% of the global population that women occupy. But let's bring it down to Africa. In Africa, we've only had one president, female president in Africa. That was Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia, and that has never happened again after her time. She's out of office now. Coming down to Sierra Leone, we have women in Sierra Leone who are active in politics, who are competent. But when it comes to the two main political parties, we don't see women given the tickets to contest on their party as presidential candidates. But they're used to campaign. Again, when women contest on the smaller political parties, much support is not given, neither by the men nor by the women. Why is that happening? So today, we have lots of people here on my platform, and we're going to look at that exclusively. Now on my platform, I have, let's start from that end, I have Dr. Fatutaki from the 50-50 group. I have Zainab Hawa Bangua, who served as a minister and different positions in the All People's Congress government. She also worked for the UN. On this end, I have Honorable Bernadette Lahai. She's a member of the Women's Shadow Parliament, and she was a member of the National Parliament in Sierra Leone. And I have Honorable Emma Fraser, who's also a member of the Women's Shadow Parliament, and I have different people here. So today, we're going to talk about that. And I also have a woman here who contested the just concluded 2018 elections in Sierra Leone as a presidential candidate. So let's start the discussion. I'll start with you, Zainab Bangua. You're one of the women who formed your own political party. You contested the elections, but yet you did not win. Let's use yours for now as a case study. Give us a brief background of when that happened, how it felt.
I think when I contested the election, I've always been an activist. As you know, I call myself a social activist. I work on a lot of issues which are very close to my heart, issues of human rights, issues of women's participation, issues of democracy, issues of corruption. And the reason why I actually participated in the electoral process was I felt that these issues were not being addressed in governance. And if you go back to the war, the reasons why we had the conflict was because of state corruption, was because of mismanagement.
But we still had several people contesting the elections, well, men. Why was it necessary for you as a woman to contest the election?
Well, I wanted to have my voice on the table. And I think one of the things that has come out to light and which has been discussed several times around the world is if you don't have women on the table, the issues that are of critical concern to women cannot be addressed. Take as simple as somebody putting a policy on reproductive health, or somebody putting a policy trying to build a health facility. A man doesn't know how to carry a baby for 9 months. It's not possible. So you cannot build a maternity ward, maternity hospital, or want to work on reproductive health if you don't actually have the voices of women. So the critical concern, all of those campaigning on issue of inclusiveness, mainstreaming gender issue, is because they feel that women have to be on the table where the critical issues that are critical to women are discussed so they can have the women's input. Secondly, it is in politics that we distribute resources. Whether we like it or not only do politicians make policy, but they also distribute resources. So if women are not on the table, when the resources are being distributed, the resources will not be distributed where women are focused. So if you can look at it, if you look at the Scandinavian countries, Fatu will tell you, look at the countries that are doing very well in economic development, Rwanda, the Scandinavian countries, you have more women in parliament and in government. Therefore, the policy of the country is framed towards the things that are for critical concern to women.
And usually women are associated with several attributes that one might say perhaps those are attributes that should be visible in a president. Dr. Fatutaki, let me bring you in on this. Why do you feel that women are not given that much of a platform to get to that level of becoming president in Sierra Leone?
I think it has to do with mindset. It has to do with the way we look at things and
mindsets from whose angle?
Mindsets from all of our angles, including the men. It's patriarchy, and we have innate. It's kind of innate in us, the patriarchy. So even women, most times within cultures, within the religions, within the day-to-day lives, have sort of accepted this patriarchy, and therefore sometimes even see themselves as how men view them. So with this new the idea of understanding that this is not how it's supposed to be, and understanding that you have as much right as a man, then that mindset has to change. Now, for the mindset to change, people need to understand why it needs to be that way. Women need to understand why they need to be at the table, as Honorable Zainab Bambura has said, why they need to be where decisions are made, why they need to be where all the top leadership and everything is, so that they are part of it. And if they're part of it, then the woman's agenda would come in. So
what makes it of utmost paramount or importance that women be given that position to become president of Sierra Leone? Honorable Bernadette Zahai.
I think, first of all, women of any country belongs to that country as a matter of right. If you are born in Sierra Leone, you have right to all the resources, to all the opportunities, to all the privileges that accrues to you by the very fact that being born in that country, there are certain inalienable rights. Right to sit where the decision making is taking place. That is your right. Right to also give your own input or your own perspective on development issues. That is your right. It is enshrined in the Constitution. And in fact, when we look at the Constitution of Sierra Leone, it really, there's nowhere, either explicitly or implicitly, that precludes a woman from really attaining the highest political office in this country.
And there's no aspect of it as well that makes it compulsory for men or political parties to allow women to get that position. So there's no legal commitment.
Yeah, but in our political parties are not made up only of men. In fact, it is a crime in the first place for any political party to be based on a single gender. You may have a woman-led political party, but also included in that woman-led political party, men. But it is a crime for you to even
have a party in which you have all men. So, taking your argument further, it is not compulsory that women should be given presidency, but at the same time, nothing precludes. It all depends on the political party's culture, the political party's activities. Look at our political party's manifestos, our political party's constitution. They are so
always
gender
make commitments about gender empowerment.
No, but they look at all the political party's constitution. I was involved in a research wherein we worked with IDEA, and we are looking at all the political parties' constitution in Africa. I took 5 of the major political parties then, and if you subject them to analysis, their language is blind, their language is neutral, there is no special temporary measures in those party constitutions. Of course, the only where there is a mention of women is when you come to the women's wing.
Yes.
That is the only where you
so that's the only departments women are allowed.
Yeah, in the party's constitution.
Or when
Sierra Leone, you talk about Africa.
No, I'm talking for Sierra Leone, and in most other political parties around Africa, you normally have the women's wing. The women's wing is where women have been relegated, so that even when you venture to contest for any position outside of that women's wing, it's a problem.
So you're either joining the women's swing and leading the women's swing, or you're helping during campaign period to be on the forefront to help dancing in the streets, singing, clapping, and insults when needed to do that. But Honorable Emma, why is it important that women should do more than just that in politics?
There is no way any political party can operate without the support of women. Honorable Bernadette has said that women are required at political rallies and women's organizations, women's wings, to support the party, particularly during elections. And once the elections are over, once the manifestos have been put under the shelf, that's the end of the woman's role. And that is not how it should be.
Usually, people attribute women to being disciplined, very upright, virtuous in many ways, that they would uphold constitution, they would abstain from corruption, and so on. Zainab, do you buy this idea?
Well, there's a study with Transparency International that tells that women are less corrupt.
And if that's the case, how is that relevant
those of us
to running a state?
Who studied insurance can tell you women have less road accidents than men. So when you look at the qualities of women, there are qualities of care, qualities of nurturing, qualities of building. These are qualities that are embedded in women's characteristics, which are qualities that makes a difference. And if you look back into our country, I always say this: a woman always puts her family before. That's a woman. She is always the one who benefits last. And if you want a country to prosper, you have to have people that have characteristics of building. You have to have empathy. For those of us who come from I come from Yoruba. 99% of my family is below the poverty line. I come from an extremely poor background, where somebody had to give me uniform to go to school, somebody had to give me shoes. And I still live. I might have broken the glass ceiling, but the rest of my family still live here, and I go there. And so when you look at the the level of poverty in our country, you'll find it is very difficult to ask yourself, what are the politicians doing? When a woman is in leadership position, she has more empathy. Just look at parents who have girls. The men will tell you. People who have daughters during the war, the daughters tend to have more sympathy for their parents than the boys, because the boys look after their wives, they look after their children. So these things tells you what is in a woman. But coming back to the issue of the quota, I said to Auntie Nimata after the election, I said, Auntie Nimata, until you people start looking at the political party structures, you'll never have women in leadership position. Our basic problem begins with the party structure. It's the men who wrote the rules. I mean, we say that in the UN. After Second World War, women issues were not written into the story of the Second World War, the way women were affected, because the men held the pen that wrote the story. So the rules were created by men to suit themselves.
But if
women are now struggling to actually fit in, and we're fitting in as if on the terms of men. They have to decide whether.
And why are we still struggling, Dr. Taki, as women? As you've said, those are out of Sierra Leone or out of Africa particularly. I was doing my research, I was online, I saw women prime ministers, women presidents around the world. Although yes, they are not in an encouraging number, but it's far better than what we have here in Africa. But then when you bring it back to the women, let's say a woman contests, like when Claudia Swill contested. If all the women in Sierra Leone voted for her, that would have been a significant amount. But even us as women don't even vote much for women.
Well, this is why I said when I made the previous statement, well, it had to do with the mindset. There are many things that we need to address, and I think we've taken lots of baby steps in Sierra Leone. I wouldn't say I haven't given up. I'm always optimistic, and I know that over now it's taken us probably a long time to get to where we are. But the last 2 decades and the last 3 decades, a lot of things have been done. So like Zainab Angara doing her political party and contesting, Jaden Williams contesting.
She didn't contest.
Yeah, she wanted to. I know she vied. She wanted to, but she wasn't given the ticket to contest. And then you contested, and then now we have Claudia Swill who contested, and the lady from RUFP. They are sort of the pioneers that people can see, because now Zainab Angara lost her elections, yeah, but then a lot of it sort of gave people a slap, a realization, especially younger people at the time, to say this is possible. Yes,
and with all the names you've mentioned, it's just few women in Sierra Leone. What do you feel majorly is the problem? Is it a lack of inspiration or a short supply of women that have the panache to go for it?
As Zainab said, that was the conclusion. My first-hand experience with these elections that we had, my conclusion after when we were looking at lessons learned, was that you needed to have a lot more women within the political parties who are very active.
That is where the decisions are made.
One of the key things that people say to us, but when they talk about this, when they do volunteer,
they say that a lot of times, so that the women who think they have the panache to be into it don't step into it, and those who step into it, well, some would tell you they are not up to the standards. You hear that insulting statement, they're not up to the standards. And when you look at APC and SLPP, they tell you, we sent candidates who we believe would give us the number. But then, yes, it still does not happen. What is responsible? Just a moment, Dr. Taki. This is the Phebe Swill platform. We're taking a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The target is visible.
Abort his mission, but I want him alive.
I copy that. Please! Push your hands up and turn around slowly! Boss, he's carrying a packet of Giggles diaper, not a bomb.
Keep your baby happy with Giggles Classic, Giggles Premium Dry and Soft Diapers, and Giggles Wipe with different flavors. Giggles Diapers has stretchable sides, liquid indicator, and a special absorbent layer to keep your baby dry always. For your Giggles diaper for children and adults and other Giggles products, go to Hong Kong China Enterprises, 6 Back Street, Freetown, or telephone 088-437-888, 076-585-757, 077-174-926. Because what happens in Giggles stays in Giggles.
We're still looking at women's involvement in politics. We're looking at the main seat, that's the presidency. Women deserve to be there, but they're not there in Sierra Leone. We're still discussing that on my platform. Dr. Taki, we left off with looking at, usually the political parties say they send in candidates they know would give them the votes because they want to be in governance. But then they think sometimes that sending women would not give them that votes they want.
Okay, let me tell you, I think one of the things we're looking at, this is why we asked this incoming government, the government we're in now, to say that we need to go back to a constitution. Dr. Banandlahai mentioned the constitution. Yes, our constitution is very discriminatory. There are various aspects within it that discriminate totally.
How does the constitution contribute to women not being presidents?
Because you're seen as the other. Because in fact, even a language as is used within the constitution, we think that being he is generic. He is no longer generic. We cannot see he as she. No, he is he and she is she. Or you use a gender neutral language so that people know that they are part, they see themselves within it. They can relate to what is written within the Constitution. So one of the things that we've asked this the government to do is to go back to the Constitution, look at the review that was done for 3 years plus, and look at the recommendations that were made. Because a lot of recommendations that were made by citizens of the country and recommendations put forward in the final report, recommendations that could change a lot of the things, the discriminating aspect of it. Now, from that side, if the Constitution, which is the rule and the law that rule and govern all of us as Sierra Leoneans, so that is one step. 2, gender policies, right? So even within our national environment and national landscape, the gender policy has to be there. So that you see now, affirmative action is where you sort of positively discriminate, so that you make it inclusive. So if you're looking at including persons with disability, you're looking at including people who are normally at the periphery, where they're not normally in the mainstream, like the women's wing. Yeah, they're not in the mainstream of the parties. But this is what one of the key things we said was that, and we recommended, was that being part, if these are integral parts of the Constitution and within the policies, it makes it every political party, yes, as Honorable Emma says, no political party can win an election or can survive without women or the participation of women or at the level of women. So if you're looking at having contestants, you're looking at giving the symbols, you're looking at having women who are to represent the party. So it's not sending, I said to political parties, it's not sending the women to go and do shopping and cook and mobilize for them,
and help
train them so that they become, we don't have capable women.
Usually, aside from looking at the capability of women in occupying these offices, usually there's this aspect of women being really uptight and straightforward, going strictly by the rule of law. Well, even if not 100%, but to a very high extent, and that in itself becomes a problem for some political parties. You would not allow us to do things as we want to. You would just be too strict.
Women are controlling.
And then women just don't get to the seat there. And they need a party.
Unfortunately, men don't want that. But, and this is why it begs my intelligence, really, to understand why the resistance. Within the homes, men see the role that women play. They see the roles that women play within their homes, to them as men and to their children. And women are the first teachers of even the men who are educated now. So why does it get to a point where you to start to think that, well, that woman is not capable? No, because they're scared of the other. But then we're naturals. We don't come to contest.
You seem to be disagreeing.
You know, I think, let's call a spade a spade. The biggest problem we have is the men who live in leadership. They're just so chauvinistic. They don't want to have women in leadership.
Well,
why do you feel that's the case?
I experienced that with my party.
But when we heard your name coming up that you had intention to run for the flag bearer position.
Yes, there was so much resentment. We don't go allow Zainab, it's not possible, it's too strict. You know, allow, you know, go group on what you want. Yes, people caught them talking in the party, saying, over our dead bodies, Zainab no go can't sit down and tap with aid. Because I know Zainab, you can't bring that UN trip now, what you know for do, because they resented it. And I tell you, all the countries that they made the break, it was the leadership. Tony Blair's government identified women and put them in safe seat constituency, because women are shy, women don't have resources, you know, men have network, all sorts of things. So for a woman to break through, they need to be supported. That's what Tony did when he broke the record in the UK, and that's the same thing that's happening in Rwanda. So what we don't have, even the men who are leaders, and I have to say, whether it's President Kurma, it's President Madabio, you cannot go and put an SAPP woman candidate in Yoni Bana. She will not win. You cannot go and put a women candidate in Bujo for APC or in Bond no, they will not win.
Why is that the case?
Yeah, because these are controlled party areas. So if you want a woman to win in the APC, you put her in the NOP. You put her in the north because that's your stronghold.
With that said, you won an election.
Yes, because it was an SNP party.
And with what she just said, take us through your journey, where what you passed through to get to that point where you won the election to become a member of parliament on the SLPP.
Well,
having in mind what she just said.
Well, I contested in Kenema, SLPP Stronghold.
Exactly.
And under initially it was under the first, the list system.
Yes.
The list system.
Proportional representation.
But even under that, you know, I had to struggle because I was in academia and I was not a politician. But then, you know, through the 50 membership, you know, some of us were prevailed because the president, Ahmed Tijan, then was saying, "We are the women." So some of us decided to leave our comfort zone. I was working in the UNDP to go there. But nobody identified me as a politician. I was an academician, from research institute to UNDP, then to politics. So we were working on the list system. I went there. I identified the constituency where I came from. I have my uncles, both of them are now late. They have been politicians for many years. And when I went there, they said, "You, our daughter, you have years on your age on your side. Leave this thing for us." I said, "Uncle, you cannot determine from God whether I will die before you or you will die. So age has nothing to do with this." At the end of the day, I was put on the second list, the alternate list. You know, we had the priority list of 8 members.
But why did you feel you were successful with what she just said? Is it because from the area you contested, you also from that background? Do you feel that had something to do with why you won the elections?
Well, for the first time, you know, that was the first time in my constituency a woman is vying for a parliamentary seat. All these years in politics, since independence and beyond, it is only men. So for the women of that constituency, they were happy that for the first time a woman is showing up. So even when, you know, the content was very steep because we had to go through party primaries, me and my 2 uncles, and we had to choose one on the other.
So you contested with your uncles?
With my 2 uncles for the primaries.
Must have been quite interesting.
Yeah, for the primaries, and at the end of the day, one had to be on the priority seat, the other one had to be on the alternate seat.
Did you suffer from some form of intimidation at one point?
I did, because, you know, Kenema was the list system. How people got on the list system was something, because you had to fight to get on the priority list A and not on the priority list B. So some of us suffer because they said, "Where is she coming from? Who is she? What has an educated woman got to do with a market woman who sells oil, palm oil, and all those?" And my mother never went to school. My father was just a primary school leaver and all of this.
But then you went through the journey and you won the elections.
I won the elections.
All right, well, Emma, let me also bring you in on this.
From my political party.
You won elections. So why did you feel that you won that elections?
Well,
there are other women who've been contesting. They don't make it.
In my constituency, I was the very first woman to have contested and to have won.
In the north?
No, in the south.
In the south.
Mayamba. And that was the only constituency where you had an APC. It was the whole of the south is SLPP. I won because I was at the Bank of Sierra Leone. Yes, and I had been there for over 10 years. But I always went back to my home because that is my base. I was born and bred there. And I saw the needs of my people, and I supported them in some of their agricultural projects. I supported them, and I was always there with them. So they identified with me. When I decided to run, nobody took me seriously because no woman had ever contested. And I contested against 4 men. Some were doctors, some were politicians.
Yourself, did you encounter some form of intimidations?
Oh, definitely.
By whom? Were there intimidations you faced by fellow women?
By wives of my opponents, by the supporters of my opponents, and also by my supporters. And when it came to the crunch, there was no barrier. There was no hold back. They just dealt with you as they would do with any man, or even more so. And I had to stand my ground. One thing that spoke for me was that I had such support from the women and from the grassroots.
And that, as you've said, support from women don't always come in most of the time. Women seem to be having issues with supporting other women, especially not grassroots women.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Because women don't get the parts. You know, whether we like it or not, let's face facts. In this country, if you fall out of the APC or the SFP, it's going to be very difficult. Our people are illiterate. They understand, the Timmy man or the Limba understands the song. Or pantry. So if you contest from another party, it becomes very difficult because those parties are embedded into the life on the DNA of our people. So that's the first challenge. Those parties are based on ethnicity. Whether we like it or not, let's accept it. Sometimes we have to be honest to ourselves, look at ourselves in the mirror and find out why we have problems. And the political parties are holding our people to ransom because they know whoever they put. I said it to President, I was chastised by the former speaker. And I said, most of the people you put to the parliamentarians don't even go to their constituency. But as far as they're concerned, it's APC stronghold. When they put me in, they then go vote for me. The people grumble. So if it's left to the people you say they should vote as it is, trust me, it will change. Let's take the United States, for example. Because Hillary lost, it became such an highlight. Today, if you are following the primaries, the Democratic primaries, it's an outstanding number of women who are winning seats. They are removing people who are top. The man in New York was supposed to be the next speaker in parliament. A 25 to 27-year-old man got him to lose his seats in New York. And these are the backbone of the Democratic Party in New York. Because of what happened, women all of a sudden realized we lost our opportunity.
But that happens in Western countries.
Because they're educated.
But in Sierra Leone, there are times when there are several barriers when it comes
education
to
is one
of those barriers.
She did say you need to look at yourself in the mirror and see where the problems is. Where we all have problems. One of the things we need to accept is that it's going to take time. Because we need to break. You say a lot of our people are illiterate. Yes. We need to stop. We need to do something about this majority of our illiterate people to understand. Yes. I remember one of the female wing party female wings said to me, "Oh, we don't have problems with 60% plus of women who are grassroots women because we know what they want, they know what they want. Our problem is this little minority of educated women who are elite because they want our seats and they want our positions." So I'm looking at her, I'm like, well, okay, well, if you are not educated, you realize you're an elite as well. And if you're there, well, you know, somebody puts you there. It doesn't mean that's where you're supposed to be. So we need to address this problem. But I see that the times are changing in Sierra Leone. So even with our grassroots, high illiteracy rates, otherwise the votes wouldn't have turned out the way they turned out for 2018 election.
When you talk to some people in the streets, you get quite interesting responses. During the past elections, I had an encounter with some young men, and I was like, they were arguing politics, and I stepped in and I was like, okay, why couldn't you just solve the problem and not vote for men? Because women have that panache that you would want to see in a leader that would get the country to that upright level, and you're like, women, when you put them in the offices, they become bossy. There is no control anymore, they're all over the place. Do you feel that in itself is a problem?
It has to do with the mindset. Those even educated men. Book learning men.
They say you tend to become insulting.
You know,
you become too bold, and the boldness becomes insulting.
It's about control.
No, I think the reality is. I think the reality. I was reading now I have a lot of time, so I spend a lot of time in the internet. I read the Washington Post. I contribute to a lot of global magazine and a lot of internet. And I was reading the other day because one of the things that my top communication officer was saying to me, she's a lawyer, she used to be a lawyer. She used to say negative characteristics are always associated with women.
Why do you feel that's the case?
I was reading this thing. They said, in the world, a man is confident, but a woman is arrogant. When a woman has a lot of self-confidence, she becomes arrogant. When a man is he has a lot of self-confidence.
Should women be apologetic about that?
A man is insulting.
I totally. It's like people are asking you on elite, you have to be. You cannot be apologetic for anything.
A man is assertive, but a woman is aggressive. A man is uncompromising, a woman is ball breaking. A man is strategic, a woman is manipulative. A man is a leader, a woman is controlling. Therefore, controlling man. They don't think that he has a characteristic, you know. A man is authoritative, a woman is annoying. You know, a man, the characteristics behavior are the same. You behave the same, but they define the woman in the negative aspect, and that's what, because people are not used. And I tell you, for me, it was you I was talking to yesterday, and I said my best job I had in the world was at the UN. This last one century, because Ban Ki-moon made it a policy to have more women than men.
Thank you.
So at the leadership position in the UN,
you see the commitment.
Oh no! You see the environment, the atmosphere, and we all work as comrades.
But now,
there has to be a law.
Yes, Dr.
Sierra Leone is almost at par with Rwanda, and we are all in Africa. If Rwanda is now
as far as what sense?
No, what I'm saying in the sense that we came from war.
Yeah, wars because
we came from war. We are almost all very underdeveloped. But what we are saying that why is Rwanda today?
It's leadership.
It is leadership. That's what I'm saying. It is leadership. And the president is African. Yes. He's not a British. He's not an American. He's a
67 or 65%.
So what we are saying is that everything boils down to leadership. If the leadership is convinced of what women are capable of doing, or the benefits that are also when you totally utilize your human resource.
Thank you.
The leadership,
that's
the willpower.
So in that sense, just before
you go, when I came in, it was under proportional representation, and that's when we had the highest amount of women in parliament. So even within our laws, we need to change first past the post, because again, it boils down to the way we vote, the perception, the way we look at things. So there has to be a willpower.
With that said, ladies, just a moment. So we're still looking at it here. But government in, government out, there's still always this verbal commitment about women's empowerment, women's inclusion in governance. You still see several women groups advocating for that. So is it a favor that should be done to women by including them in governance? Those questions will be answered shortly. And those barriers, sometimes they say, there are religious barriers. Quran and Bible. What do those two books say about women in women's inclusion? Does it say women should not be at par with men? All those we'll find out shortly, and then the recommendations that will be coming up as to how do we change the narrative. The Phebe Swill platform.
What's you doing about for go this morning? Are they gonna bank? But you know, say man get for go pull small face. I dey go shop for dong to we. I no look late safe. You no need for yaba yourself. All you need a smartphone where you dey download the app easy. What you dey talk? With your SIM couple, you can do cash withdrawal, cash deposit, pay for goods, you dey check your balance, transfer from one local bank account to another local bank account, or you can transfer from one local bank account to another bank account wey not a local bank account. You can pay bills like NPA, ESA, DSTV, and plenty other bill. You can even buy airtime for your GSM phone. In Nota Play, requested for foreign exchange transaction, you can do it with your local SIM couple. You can make payments through e-check account. That means you can pay for you will not even get account. And cash e-check from any local commercial bank ATM machine. You mean say I just need for open my phone, I do all my transaction on my phone, just go to the agent when at the FIA business person, and you can do plenty other things like for check your balance for yourself. Well, an officer need for go to bank direct. I go eat cookie first. From there, I do my transaction on my phone with local SIM couple. You phone and you bank. Remember say this product na salon no more in the work.
So is there a biblical barrier as to why women should not be allowed to go for such positions?
Well, there is no biblical barrier. It's just the mindset of people. Because of our tradition, custom, you know. But for this 21st century, if we go through the Bible, you will see that women occupy prominent position in the Bible. Like in the book of Judges, like Deborah. The book of Judges, like Deborah. She occupied prominent position in the Bible. And then she's one of the judges of Israel. She ruled Israel for good 20 years. Even though she's with the husband, but she ruled Israel for good 20 years. It's not because of the mindset of people. Men cannot do everything alone. You see, when God created man in the book of Genesis chapter 2, he said that men should not be alone. And the Bible says that God made a woman as an helpmeet, M-E-E-T, helpmeet. That has been shown that the men could not do everything alone. So there is a woman need to be by the side of the men so that they will complement each other.
So there is no barrier from the Bible that prevents women from going from there. We're getting all these things into play because Sierra Leone is a very religious country and all these things come into consideration. So Sheikh, let's hear from you. Is there an Islamic barrier that says women should not aspire for such things, limiting women?
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
In the first place, I'm glad because I've had all the various speakers. I have a dream that one day the people of Sierra Leone are going to choose the Bible and the Quran to be their constitution. Because the man-made constitution has failed us. In the Holy Quran, there's a surah dedicated Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to women, surah number 4. And the very first part of that chapter, surah An-Nisa, is saying that fear Allah who created Adam as a single soul. And then later on he created his spouse. Both of them produced many men and many women. This is the Holy Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So in other words, you're saying there's no barrier whatsoever in the Quran stopping women from aspiring for those positions?
I don't just want to say it just bulky like that.
Okay.
We need to educate the people. You know, it is practical. Islam's position regarding women is very, very practical. The wives of the Prophet ﷺ used to be his ministers, used to be his supporters. Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the Prophet used to say, when none believed me, when none supported me, Khadija did. Khadija spent her money for the Prophet ﷺ to stand.
So we're saying now it's okay for women to aspire for those positions.
Of course,
okay.
And yeah.
With that said, thank you very much, Sheikh. Now, Phebe, School, you contested elections. This was my first time voting in Sierra Leone. Proudly, I voted for you. I don't regret it, even though you did not get as much percentage of the votes as I expected, but I didn't regret it. Take us through your journey, before, contesting, during the elections, and after.
I don't think we have the luxury of that much time.
You will just summarize.
Let's summarize.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know how Madam Zainab did with registering her party, how much obstacles were put in her path. For me, there was a lot of obstacles. And from the moment the party was registered...
Were there part of those obstacles that came because you're a woman?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I think it's because the institutions don't work well in Sierra Leone. And the point at which we were registered to the point at which the elections happened was 6 months. So I never see it like I even lost the election. I think I did a pretty good job.
Oh, yes, you did. And I'm proud of you, the fact that you contested.
In 6 months, what we were able to accomplish, there is no district that I did not visit. And very many villages that I went to.
Were you rejected?
By no one. Nobody. The welcomes I got from some of the imams I met, and they would pray for me and my hair would rise even though I did not understand anything was being said. But the kind of welcome that I received on both sides was phenomenal.
Was it convincing to you then, with all the welcome and support you say you got, was it convincing to you then that yes, you were going to be president of Sierra Leone this 2018?
I had to keep it real. I knew in 6 months that it was a very, very tough mountain to climb, to be able to reach every voter. There are people who, after the elections are done, are saying, I never heard of you, I never saw you.
So you were not hopeful that within 6 months you would be president of Sierra Leone from a small political party, well, as they call them, big and small, from a small political party. Why did you even contest in the first place?
You cannot look at the obstacles and stay back and stay home. you have to look at the obstacles and say, I'm going to climb it. In terms of finance, I was, way down there in the pack. In terms of the machinery of a political party, I was down there in the pack. And I could easily have looked at all those obstacles and said, you know what, this mountain is way too high, I can't climb it. But I decided that I'm not going to allow that to stop me, because...
So if you have to go all over that experience again, would you?
I will.
You really would, because you didn't even wake up, you grabbed it.
I don't think she has a choice, she has to do it. I definitely will. The people who have done the Swill gone for, I don't call it a glass ceiling, I call it the mortar ceiling. The ceiling is mortar, the kind of ceiling that going have to go through inside. So if you started hitting it and you made it,
and besides, in politics, I've always had the policy that once I have decided to contest, the end goal is what I'm interested in. Yes. Whether you win, you lose, you come out a better person. Yes. Because there are lessons that you learn.
Yes.
There are people you interact with that you never have.
And there are people you also inspire.
And you also inspire people to come in at a point. And because of the experiences you got, you are able to also pass on those experiences. Like we are working with her. We are going to share our experiences, and even all those women that lost 50-50, we are going to work with them so that our stories are going to be catalogued and as a point of reference for those who want to come in. But even sometimes you need to even reinforce what you did better and also to improve on what you do well.
So it comes down again, it's still a generational thing with women, by generation, still there. Now when it comes to the younger people, during elections, you see them even on social media, they campaign, they rally for people. The support for women, much is not known. But still with the young generation, we have a lot of young women here who will tell us what they think about women's inclusion in politics to that level of becoming presidents, if they would support, if they wouldn't, why? So let's hear from us ladies. Yes.
For me, I'll support a woman any day, any time.
Why would you support a woman any day, any time? Because you're a woman?
Because I believe in women, like in women, for example. No, it's not because I'm a woman.
So let's say there's a man contesting and there's a woman, but the man is more competent and the woman, doesn't have much of the panache, but she's a woman. Would you vote just because she's a woman?
Okay, first of all, I think the first thing first, I will, because she is a woman. And then two is because I believe in women and I believe what we can do. When we put our minds to something, there's nothing that we cannot do. But I feel like for us to reach that position, that is a particular place that we need to tackle.
What's that place?
When we're kids, for example, and let's say I'm twin, and there's I'm a girl and then there is a boy. By the time we reach 5, 6, because I'm a girl, my space start to shrink. You're not woman, they do this. Don't do this, you're not woman. You know what I mean? Like the boy could actually go anywhere and do anything, everything. But because you're a woman, the moment your space starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, to the point that when you become a girl, there's no space left.
Your potentials
are limited. So by the time you become a woman, other women down there, because it's like it burns in our brain when we're kids. Woman no will be leader. Woman if you put on before. Not just as prefect, so woman be prefect now.
They're bossy. We can have a lot.
So it happens. Yeah, so it happens.
It's not a bad thing.
I don't know. So even at us, like activists, for example, us young ones coming up, you get people. It's okay. You mount your. You would the talk. Woman not for the talk.
But when a man does it, it's okay.
Yeah, that's right. So that is like society shrinking our space.
I heard women say we're living in a male-dominated universe.
Let me tell you a very interesting story. When I was an activist, very strong, and everybody knows this was the days of the AFRC and all that. And every day you open the newspaper, my name was headline. Every day. So that's when I started reading newspapers in the country. I hope to today I have that background. And so sometimes when they write about you negatively, I know my husband coming and said, you have to read this. And I said, listen, I'm not reading this. I said, because this man has made money by writing about me. So why should I take money and buy the paper?
Yeah, give me money. Yes.
One day was sitting, I think somebody knows that I was behaving like a man, and just those things.
Did you you see that as a compliment?
No, listen, let me tell you, well, the worst is I'm telling you. So I sat in the sitting room with my husband and we were talking. And then I said to myself, I said, what this disgusting thing about this saying I'm behaving like a man? And he turned around to me and said, you know, you actually have a man's hormone. I said that people ask me, why did you become so successful? I said, because I never sit on the second row from elementary school.
I learned that from her once. I was at an event and she said, when I enter any place, I take front seat. Today, if you ask my classmates, even if I come late for that event, we will have to squeeze. I will go to the front seat. So, yes, I learned that from you. I'm always at the front.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression. When I go to any meeting in the world, everywhere around the world, trust me, if one person has to speak at that meeting, it's me. I always go prepared. I always study the document before I arrive, so I know to ask questions. And even when I look at the list of people who are participating, they send you the list before the conference, I know who I'm going to sit next to. I know who I'm going to have lunch with. I know who I'm going to have dinner with. Because I know what I want from you. I know what I want from you. So that's how I shape my life. So I achieve a lot of things in life because of my aggressiveness. And people don't like it. You know, but I think there's one person who admired me was my Secretary General.
At least you got appreciation from someone
because
of that
he realized, he said it
statute.
to me and he said, you know, you have such a strong characteristics. He said, keep it up, don't allow it. I never allow somebody to bring me down. It's not possible. How does it say?
And ladies, I'm so interested in hearing from the young ladies in here. There's been a lot said. What more as young ladies can you gather from this in terms of supporting?
You see them, some of them know what they want to say, but they won't talk. That's about women. They know what to say, but they lack the self-confidence. They doubt themselves. That's the problem.
It's because, I feel like it's because like when we're kids, they go like, even when you want to talk to your mother, for example, they go like, no talk. No explain, no this. Because they're like, they don't use for tell me it's more. No talk, you too mouthy, when you talk, you disrespectful. No look what's in your face. And I'm like, no.
You know, they do that. They did that to all of us. My father was an imam. Up to today, if I go in the crowd, I always bow. I never, because I was taught not to walk right, standing up in front of. I still do, but I never lost myself.
It's probably
losing yourself.
Yes. Like we have people. There are people when, you know, like when you keep telling them something, like subconsciously, it burns in their brain. Like even if they want, like you said, some people are here, like you can see that they want to say something.
So you feel that the homes are contributing?
Of course, everything is contributing. The environment, the home, the school.
So then, as young women, how would you change this in your own quarter?
Don't go by the book. For me, there's no book. Like who wrote those books?
The men wrote the books.
No, but it's not. I don't care about it.
You two living in the same house would be something. Yes.
You know, religious people.
Fantastic. We can't leave you in the same house with Zainab.
God Almighty exempted women from participating in political and social issues. Let me give you a practical example. Pakistan. The city is called Islamabad, which means an Islamic city. The woman ruled Pakistan for 2 times as a prime minister. The parliament of Pakistan is dominated by sheikhs. Islamic.
What about Bangladesh?
Bangladesh.
No. Indonesia that has the highest amount of Muslims
in the world.
Yes. And then currently, the vice president of Tanzania, Madam Swill, is a Muslim.
You know, Sheikh, I think you have to tell him about the last sermon of the prophets. That sermon he spent, it's his last sermon in Mecca. He spent a lot of time talking about the virtues of women, what support you should give women, what the role of women. It was his last sermon, which after that he went and died. So his wife Aisha was so educated, and it was Aisha who helped to write the Quran. Because he spent a lot of time with her. The Quran was given to God, to Prophet Sallallahu by word of mouth. So he was repeating this thing. So Aisha was taken note. So after he died, it was when they compiled the Quran, and Aisha contributed to that a lot.
I just want to give her a practical example for now. This to the best central. The university I work for, Islamic Online University, for example, the global vice chancellor is a woman. Okay? And the global representative in that country where the Vice Chancellor is a woman. Right? The one that pays all of us. Right? The financial president of IOU, a university that exists in over 250 countries.
We're still not satisfied with those because until and unless Sierra Leone gets a female president, we're not satisfied. But Dr. Taki, the way they do it, it's as if it's a favor. Is it that the society or the men are doing women a favor by bringing them up to certain positions? Is it a favor?
The men don't need to bring the women up to any certain position. It has to do with the way, I was going to say that socialization. Of course, the way what we think and to believe of what we're supposed to do and not to do. But these are things that we can train ourselves. When you mix with other people, you listen to other people, you see other people, that should motivate you to be able to do certain things. But also, I am one person. I try not to totally switch off sometimes cultural aspects and customs. Where if you have to, because sometimes we get caught up in modernization and feminism and all these things, and we lose what we are. Now, I will still be respectful of people, but I will still make my point hard. Regardless if they say, okay, Nafitiai picking, fine, okay, Nafitiai, but I will have made my point, you know what I mean? For younger ones who are coming up, they see people like us. I am not old, by the way.
Well noted.
They see people like us, but I had people who I looked up to. My mother was, has been within the women's movement and all these things. So even though we were taught to be respectful, to do certain things within the home, but they gave us the space, the parents gave us the space to say you can be what you want to be. You can do what you want to do and give us the encouragement. And this is what we need. What we do as the side-by-side is holding women's hands to say, okay, we don't know which side. But every time it's accusing, okay, you are educated. Yes, I'm educated. But
and unapologetically.
We all cannot be on the same level. Yes. But I am ready to hold my hand out. So you will know each day, can't make an equipment in Chusadi.